All right, I had several trades today, and I'm green, and a lot of them broke even. But my best trade idea was right here, I believe. Looking at the daily chart here on the left side, we can see that the price broke structure to the downside right here. And my question was, yeah, it could sweep and just head back up. It certainly could. But if it does create a breaker block or some kind of order block or some kind of structure underneath, right here's the 1 minute chart, and right here is what looks like a sell side breaker block underneath that particular daily sweep. Underneath, not on top looking bullish, creating displacement and fair value gaps to the upside, but underneath, creating displacement and fair value gaps to the downside. So what happened was when I saw this displacement right here at this bottom part, and I saw this fair value gap right here, where is it exactly? I guess it would be drawn like this. I saw these pieces come up here. I went short as soon as it touched the top of that box, and this is the move that it made. Now, did I catch that move? No, I didn't, because I'm still trying to, trust and have confidence. As soon as it started turning red, I moved my stop loss down immediately. My stop loss was literally like 3 ticks above that. If it was going to tick me out, it was going to jump up and tick me out. I wasn't gonna put it way up here and that kind of thing. If it was going to work, it was going to work right here, in my opinion. And it did work. Glad to see it. Glad I took the trade. Glad I experienced it. But I can still tell that I moved my stop too close, and it ticked me out for a small win here. But what a lovely move it would have been if I was able, and I will be able to, Lord willing, be able to, manage my stop losses better. Okay, but I just wanted to record that. We had a bunch of trades here where here's one. What was I trying to do here? I was shorting here, and I broke even. It went down nicely, and I moved my stop into break even. I really don't know why this trade was taken here. So that's a tough thing to figure out. On a 15-minute chart, or maybe the 5-minute chart would explain that. But okay, let's talk about the first trade. Was profitable right here. We had this displacement. It looked like it wanted to go up. It created this displacement and a fair value gap. You can see two of them actually, fair value gap here and here. When this come down to that pintail, I jumped long and it was profitable. And I did it twice. Let's take a look at that. First time I did it, right on the pintail, I went up and we scored. Came back down and I did it again, and it went up enough. It went up enough for me to take my stop loss and move it to break even, and it just whipped down and broke me even before this nice move up right here. That would have been another, it's another example of me putting my stop loss too tight. But I'd rather have it too tight. I'd rather break even a whole bunch of times. One of these times it'll go in my favor. Here we have a short that I broke even on. No, it wasn't a short. I went long because it came down to this fair value gap. And it did turn green for a minute, and I brought my stop loss into the break-even zone, and it slammed down. So that was a break-even trade. I tried to go long in this fair value gap, and I broke even. See, this is why I like to break even. We got two more trades down here. One was another short, and I put it on break even, but it went kind of quick and ticked me a couple ticks lost there. And this one was a really nice, in my opinion, would have been a really nice short had I held it better. We can see it on the 1-minute chart, like I just explained right here. And if I didn't get ticked out, it would have been a really nice short to the downside. Now we're getting some potential shorts here, but this fair value gap right here was ignored, creating another fair value gap. So, and this also looks like it could be a breaker to the upside, but we don't have enough displacement, in my opinion, to really trust it. But could it come down here to the fair value gap? Could it keep going up and create new fair value gaps? Could it go over the top of this daily low that it swept under and form higher highs and keep going? Yeah, it could. It really could. that's why I really preferred like to scout my opportunities and not try to hit a home run. Scout my opportunities and make little base hits here and have a higher percentage of win rate, hopefully. But anyway, that's the trade so far today. I might stop. I might take some more, but let's see what happens. All right, let's take a look at this again. Now the price is back up over the top of the daily sweep here. And we took a short when it was below the daily sweep, creating a breaker block and a fair value gap to the downside. And that's why I took that trade right here when it was underneath this swing low on the daily. And it swept up again and came down and broke, and then it created a fair value gap that I tried to short, and it worked. I just got stopped out for a small profit before it made this big move down. Now I got this kind of sweet breaker block created where it's creating some fair value gaps to the upside, and it's back up over the top of the daily sweep, right? So it's interesting to follow the process here, because now we have a reversal. Now these fair value gaps right in this area that worked, this one worked, and right here when it came back up there was another fair value gap where it got stuck, couldn't sell off, created a fair value gap down here that has not been tested. This one has been respected here. Fair value gap has been respected here. This one was tested and respected here. Now we got one up here that's being tested, broken down a couple of times under it. And the big question is, what did it hit up here? Is it just a temporary reversal, or is it, because now we got fair value gaps that are pointing down. So that's the 1 minute chart. Let's go up to the 15-minute chart and see what we see. So the fair value gap here on this big candle down is the only thing we can see on the 15-minute chart. We should put it like this. And it did not quite come up into it. That's the 15-minute chart. What's hard for me, and I've still got to get better at, is trying to figure out which time frame to use, because on the daily chart, it seems to have reached its objective to go up underneath this. Will it reverse and go up, or is there a point for it to eventually go lower? Because we still have, daily sweeps way down here from a couple weeks ago on the daily chart. And the weekly chart shows us that it just swept these 2 weeks here, and now it's back up. So that's kind of bullish if it stays above these pivots, though. If it comes back down, then we're looking to go down to this level. So this is what we're doing. It's flipping back and forth, right? It's flipping back and forth. So here's the, on the hourly chart, here's the pivot that it's flipping back and forth on. Down, up, down, up, down, up, right? So looks like on the hourly chart, though, it's a big, gigantic fair value gap, though. But there's a fair value gap, this wide on the hourly chart. I mean, that's a lot of ticks. 15-minute chart, we just drew a 30-minute chart. Let's take a look at that real quick. Try to figure out. It's going to be big too. It is. And I think we just drew the one on the 15-minute chart that we just saw, which is up higher. Hasn't gotten up there. So the question is, how do we determine the direction that we think things are going to go when it's chopping around like that? I guess, like some say, we need more structure. When it did develop the structure underneath, I'm going to draw it again so I can, because I erased it. This structure here, when it had done this and went down this far, I was ready to short when it came back up into this break leg down, and it worked pretty good. The idea worked great. But now it's back up over the top. So this whole thing right here has been negated. So that's why I can get rid of it. It's been negated. Now we got something going up this way, right? However high we need to take it. There are fair value gaps that have been respected. So It's still, I'm still learning, but let's draw it again here, 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 and let's just say this one. Oh, there's several fair value gaps in this area that are being respected. So it's on 1 minute chart though, right? So on the 5 minute chart, we have fair value gap here and the one that's right here that's dealing with, looks like it's respecting it for the most part. 5 minute chart, lower time frames telling us it's a possible reversal, but if we don't have any reason on the higher time charts to think so, other than the fact that it swept this low already and there's a lot of buy side liquidity at the top, it can come back up here and sweep these highs. There's a lot of highs up here that it could take out. The question always is, will it go lower before it goes higher? See, it swept all this. This big pivot right here is the important one because all these were swept on this. It swept this. The question is, will it go down for more? It's always the question. Will it go down for more before it goes up? That is always the question. And sometimes it's hard to tell. Sometimes it's hard to tell. We could use the hourly chart, the 4-hour chart, the daily chart to say, okay, it's already swept liquidity. It's probably going to go back up. We could make that assumption. We could make that prognostication. We could. It's already swept. But why would it be absurd to say that there's still liquidity down below as well? Let's take a look at the hourly chart again here. You know, this pivot right here. I mean, how are we to know? The 4-hour chart really shows us here. How are we to know that it's done? Okay, now if we look at the hourly chart to get a bias, this fair value gap is being held. It held in all of these pintails, including the one we're creating right now at this point. It's holding it. So on the 4-hour chart, I guess we could say that it's bullish. It is bullish, absolutely. But being bullish on a 4-hour chart does not mean it's not going to go down some more before it goes back up. But it is in that range right now where it's almost ready to grab this one here. And I don't think it's impossible that it could grab that before going back up. So on the lower time charts, when it's making these bullish runs, you know, I mean, it's always worth a try if you keep your stop loss. All I can say is sometimes taking these trades because it's going to go up before it goes down or go down before it goes up, taking the trade that's available, that's presenting itself right there. If we can manage our risk, keep our stop losses tight, why not take the trade? You're not losing a lot. It's worth a try. Sometimes you'll get a good scalp, temporary scalp in the other direction before it goes in the bigger direction. Small move in the counter trend direction before the bigger move in the overall direction of the bias. So that's where we're at right now. We're waiting, I guess, and we're going to keep observing. The more we look, the more we learn, the more we experience, the better we'll get by the grace of God.